in our way. I mean, there's some real things that are in our way, but nothing that we can't overcome. And in fact, you know, we always say in the organization, I always say in the organization, heroes aren't made, they're cornered. And by God, this nation is cornered. And it's true. We are cornered. What's in our way is policy wonks. Actually, it is policy wonks. And that I'm married to a policy wonk, and he's going to be speaking here actually as part of my presentation. But it is conservative policy wonks who basically tell our labor leaders this. Well, it's their fault to the labor leaders, but this isn't. Everybody believes in single payer. I sit on the executive council and the executive committee of the AFL-CIO, and Clyde Rivers can attest to this. And I talk about single payer every time I open my mouth. In fact, they nicknamed me that. Single payer. There's some single payer. That's a good message, and I'm proud of that. But they agree with it. They don't disagree with it. Now, why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? It's because the policy people go to Capitol Hill, or the state legislators around this country, and those legislative staff tell the policy wonks that we'd all like to do single payer. I mean, God, how many times have you all heard this? Yeah. We believe in single payer. We believe in single payer. It's just not achievable. Achievable according to whom should be the question back, right? You guys from the AFL should stop taking notes. I say this to Jerry Shea every time I see him, so he knows my speech. He knows my spiel, trust me. No, I mean, and so what needs to happen is that there has to be a mandate by the labor leaders to say to the legislative staff through the policy wonks, yes, we can. Remember those words? Yes, we can. And not only can we will, because we have to. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice, brothers and sisters, because if the labor movement doesn't fight for single payer, who will? We have the most resources, we have the most credibility, we have the most organization. Workers are losing their jobs. I don't know if you all saw the our new pamphlet that you should.
Hey. $5. Come on, $5.
There, for single payer.
Okay, single payer.
$5 for single payer. Do I hear 10? Workers are losing their benefits. Their co-pays are going up. They're striking and losing. We don't have a choice as a labor movement other than to have single payer. Now, what's at the basis of the argument of the policy wonks? The basis of the argument is, well, you know, actually I have to say, Joe Jerzak's going to be speaking here, who used to be on the staff of Rich Trump of the AFL-CIO and now is fortunately with us. And one of the, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this, Joe, but one of the legislative staff said to him the other day, and this is where it gets criminal, we all know your arguments. We all agree with your arguments, but the lobbyists have too much money in this building. Okay, so we're going like this, right? I mean, the lobbyists have too much money. Well, you know what? They do have the money, but we have the people. You know what? We have the people, we have the organization, we have the power. So then you get into the whole field of arguments. How are we going to pay for it? How are you going to come up with the money, right? That's the challenge. Where's the money coming from, Roseanne? Jerry Brown said to me the other day. He's going to be our next governor in California, thank God. But still, he's at least asking the question and not just discounting it ideologically. You know, every other industrialized country has single payer. And that happened because the labor movement led it. And a lot of these countries, it didn't happen until relatively recently, actually. And there's no reason we can't do it. So what we're doing, actually, after we leave here, we're going to Washington, D.C. We're going to meet with the congressional staff, and we're actually doing a press conference at the AFL-CIO building, which they do actually. There are advantages of being on the executive council. They actually, see, nobody opposes single payer. This is what's interesting here. And so we're going to find, like, all of the ways to do organization as a movement that forecloses on all the arguments. And it's still difficult because then the question comes, how are we paying for it? So I'm going to ask, and so we're actually doing this whole, I mean, we've got like a week ahead of us in D.C. from hell, but I'm going to ask Don to actually kind of preview kind of the background arguments that we're making, because I think some of these arguments are going to be arguments that essentially change the debate. We're pretty confident. In terms of organization, look, registered nurses, labor, we're in every community across this country. Who's there? No one else. We're there. We can bring the patients to these legislators' offices, and we have to. The press has to see these patients. This is who this legislator voted against from getting health care. That's where we have to take this. It's got to be personal, because for nurses, trust me, it's personal, and they are sick and tired of human suffering, unnecessary human suffering. We're sick of it. We've got to change it. So I'm going to ask Don to do this. I'll come back up. I got a couple more things I want to say. We're going to go through a little policy kind of wonk thing here.
Can we take notes now?
You can take notes. But you cannot.
We're not gonna scoop ourselves.
But you can't scoop us. You can't scoop us. All right. So let me introduce my partner for life. Actually, he has a policy arm that does the research on single payer for us. It's actually brilliant. We've got a new research project that we just rolled out. Actually, just met with the board of directors on. He'll be talking about that. Very different type of style than I have, obviously. And then I would just want to talk to you a couple minutes about other things before we get into. You all know the answer. You all know the answer. Everybody sitting in this room. God, I mean, I go back so far with so many of you that it's kind of like stunning. It's like, God, you think, Jesus, you know, how many times are we going to do this over and over and over? How many times are we going to do this, brothers and sisters, before we make our voices heard loud enough? We've got some political space here in this country with Barack Obama. We've got political space for the first time in a long time to say, you know what, you prove to us you can't do it, rather than telling us we have to prove why we can't do it, because it's the righteous thing, it's the moral thing, and it's absolutely necessary.